So this is the BricsF CTF Club, and today we're going to be having ICS Blitz. He's been in the industry for a long time. He's a senior pen tester, um, and his primary focus is industrial control systems. And he recently passed the OSCP, so he's coming on here to talk about what you need to do to get ready. Do you have anything to say, Blitz?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I think you covered the basics of everything. So yeah, let's just jump right in.
Alrighty. So, where did you first start out? Like, did you go into like the OSCP, kind of like a like noobish, or did you go in there with like a bunch of experience and already like how much did you have to build up yourself to be ready to do the OSCP?
Sure. No, that's a good question. So when I started the OSP journey, it was towards the end of 2018, and at that point, I've already been somewhat of a security architect slash pen tester for 6 years prior to that. So I had a little bit of knowledge, but all my knowledge was around the industry I've been involved with, which, as you said, is industrial control systems. That's what the ICS in my handle stands for. So jumping into the OSCP, it was pretty eye opening. The lay of the land, industrial control systems are very different from your informational technology type type technology and infrastructure you normally see. So there was a lot of knowledge gaps, a lot of learning that went through that process. So
Um, so what did you spend most of your time doing like Linux boxes? Like, how did you get ready for it? So, like, um, did you go do CTS? Did you spend your time reading? And what CTS did you enjoy doing?
yeah, so I've done a few CTFs on the side. Um, I'm pretty active on Hack the Box and VulnHub. It's another offline VM platform. In case you didn't want to connect up to anybody's VPN, VulnHub was a great way for you to just download offline versions of VMs and throw whatever you want at it. In the beginning, I kind of preferred VulnHub over Hack the Box strictly for that reason. You didn't need to connect to a VPN. And also at the time, especially with Hack the Box, you have run into the risk of other people trying to tackle the same box as you. So a lot of times I found a lot of the attack vectors that should have worked weren't working because someone was either there messing with the box or removed a vector or patched something or deleted a file that should have been there. It really wasted so much of my time where I developed the mentality any single time I tackle a box and hack the box, even now to date, as I'm still in that platform, I always revert it first, and that's one of the best habits you can have.
Yeah.
As far as the OSCP labs are concerned, when you jump in those labs, you don't really have a list of IP addresses like you have on Hack the Box. It doesn't tell you operating system. It doesn't tell you IP addresses. So really, it's your job to connect to that network and then figure out what all is on that network. So
Oh, so they don't even give you like the IPs for the boxes when you take the exam. You gotta use Nmap and do like a
no,
spider scan.
if it's the exam, they'll give you the IPs, but I'm
Okay.
talking the labs.
Okay. So you had to do how like did you have to do like a dot zero scan like like a
I personally did not.
slash?
That is an approach you can take. There is a little bit of a trick. I mean, if you really wanted to, I don't want to call anybody lazy, but if you wanted to be lazy, when you enroll in the course, they also set you up with access to their forums. And if you go to the forums, you'll see a bunch of threads where it's broken down by IP address. And also, they give you a portal to use once you're on the lab network where you can revert boxes. So if you go to that portal, you'll see the IP addresses. So that's a way to I don't want to endorse cheating. You really should learn the ways on how to scan a network and see how to discover what devices are there. And the forums, it's not like Reddit or like Twitter or Discord where you can ask a direct question and someone will give you an answer. They're very good at wordplay. And in fact, offensive security also has an IRC channel that they encourage students to go to, and they have a command in there where you could exclamation point hint space and then the name of the box, and they'll give you like a 1 or 2 line riddle that'll if you're good at solving riddles, that's usually a good hint on how to solve the box.
So did did you find like the materials that OffSec offered you were better than like stuff you could find elsewhere? Or...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, OffSec does a great job at putting all the materials together. I know a lot of people say, the material is outdated, this, that, and the other. But one of the things you have to keep, and OffSec recently updated the PWK materials. So I think the original PDF when I took it, it was 380 plus pages. Now that PDF is like 700 plus pages. So they almost like doubled the content. And now it's got more up-to-date stuff in it. It's got some Active Directory presence. But really the biggest thing I want to say about offensive security, at least with the lab and the materials, is don't treat it as if they're teaching you the technical way how to do everything. They'll show you the basics. It's ultimately up to you to develop your skill set with it. They're all about teaching you the methodology and the process. The rest is on you. So don't go in there thinking they're going to tell you how to do everything, because they're definitely not. But they'll tell you how to do the basics.
So how much farther did you have, like how much more did you have to go beyond what they gave you to actually do the test? So you like read the materials, did the labs. So you had to go like a level beyond that just to get ready for the test, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, the best way to learn is hands-on experience, right? So I'd go in and I'd do what I was doing in the labs, working the compromised boxes. If I ever hit a brick wall or a roadblock, obviously Google Foo is your best friend. Google will be your best friend. If something doesn't work, Google why. If you're not sure how something works, Google how it works. If you don't know what you're looking at, Google what you're looking at. Learn it. So I definitely had to go beyond the PDF, but again, the PDF material is not supposed to be, the written in stone solution on how to pass the course and the exam.
A lot of tech, and a lot of hold on, I lost my train of thought.
Breathe. It's okay. Here all night.
So gosh darn it, what was it? So what did you find easier in, like, when you took the exam, the Linux or the Windows? And I know you had to go beyond, and we already talked about that, but like how much more, like, what would you recommend people study for like Linux, a Linux box? Like what or is that giving away too much, I guess?
Yeah, so I'll just come out right now and say it. I'm not going to answer any questions about the exam specifically or what you might encounter in the exam, because that's completely forbidden and a message I also support. But in terms of the labs, you're going to see everything. You really will see everything. I'm not going to go into details with operating systems or programs or applications. But one of the biggest things I will say that was a personal thing for me that I probably spent the most time on and succeeding in compromising boxes in the labs was privilege escalation.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to need more than just the basics to walk into the OSCP. So you're going to need to understand advanced concepts with operating system exploitation, especially with Windows. And you're going to need to understand how to live off the land. So that's another thing. So you're going to, like, especially with Linux and in Windows, you're going to have to know all the different places you can hide as an attacker in an operating system. There, even in Windows, there's special like directories where you can put payloads, and you can kind of bypass some of Windows security features and allow you to run certain things. So you got to understand where those are and what those are, especially for Windows. It's not, and this is something I'm really strong on because I've had people come to me and talk to me about the OSCP, and I always tell them not to use Meterpreter because I think it's a crutch. And I think if you're like starting out and you're trying to get ready for it, you should really understand what the exploits are doing and not just rely on like a tool to run the exploit. Is that something
Yeah,
you would agree with?
absolutely, 100%. This is public knowledge. So even if you Google, the course syllabus and the exam guideline, it's publicly visible. So I can say it. Do not rely on Metasploit. Do not rely on Interpreter. When you're in the labs, if you want to use Metasploit to go and compromise a box, by all means, go out and feel free in the labs. But I would encourage you, after you're done, revert the box and do it manually. Because in the exam, you only get that Metasploit one time, and if it doesn't work, you're out of luck. I would argue a little bit that you need to know, where you can hide on Windows and Linux systems, how to bypass antivirus and things like that. Things like that can certainly help and play in your favor, but you don't need to know them. What you need to be able to do is see if that is or is not what's in your way and figure out how to get around it. That's all part of the mindset that they're trying to teach you and the methodology behind it. So, for example, if you're going into a Windows box and you're trying to run Mimikatz and it doesn't run, you want to find out why. And look at what's on the box, look at what's installed, look at what processes are running. You see Windows Defender running, that's probably a good cause for Mimikatz being blocked. All right, so now you know Mimikatz is being blocked. What's a way around it? Things like that. It's a process. Don't rely on the silver bullets because you're going to fail.
Um, so like you talked about like going into Windows and like seeing the processes. Like what tools would you bring with you onto a Windows box to like understand what's happening in the environment, or maybe like some command lines in Windows, or maybe to stick to tools because I think command lines will be a little hard on a podcast, but like
No, 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 no worries. One of the best privilege escalation scripts out there is it's a suite called Privilege Escalation Awesome Scripts. A lot of you will know the names by either LinPeas or WinPeas, but there's a lot of other things out there as well. Like there's Powerless and Power Up. If you just want to do straight basic Windows command line, you could just run task list within command prompt. Or if you have a PowerShell shell, you can say get hyphen process. Or if you've got WMIC enabled on the Windows OS, you could just say WMIC space process. There's a number of commands already built in Windows natively that you can do it. But if you want something to automate a lot of that work for you, you can use something like WinPeas or Powerless or Power Up.
I actually haven't heard of Privilege Escalation Awesome Script Suite. What is this all about? This is was this very helpful during the test?
I don't know if it was helpful during the test or not. I didn't utilize this
Oh, okay.
when I went through it. It either came after after I succeeded it, or I just didn't know about it either. Obviously, one of
It
the
is pretty.
greatest resources out there is IPSEC, right?
Yeah.
And IPSEC has featured these tools in a number of his videos. And, in the community on Twitter and Discord, if you reach out to people and say, hey, what are you using for privilege escalation? Like, how are you finding the vectors to escalate your privileges? They're going to refer to you something like this. And it's got a Windows based script, and it's also got a Linux one.
Dang, I'm gonna have to try this out because that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Typically,
it's pretty sweet.
I
Again, it's all stuff you can do yourself. It's just automated. And
oh yeah.
in something like the exam where you're on a time limit, it might be helpful. It's
You,
it use it at your own risk. I would still encourage you go out and learn how to do it manually, because there's going to be times where you're not going to be allowed to do stuff like this in an engagement.
so you just bring up something I'd like to talk about. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but do you think these should you should you like rely on these tools and like use the automated tools to do it, or did you did you rely on the automated tools, or did you mostly just focus on like command line tools, like you just knew like the command to type and you would just type it, or did you use the tools primarily? And
Sure.
I'd
So
also like to tack on to that. Did you do multiple boxes at the same time? So like, did you like log into all the boxes first and try and then run the scripts, the automated scripts, and let them run and then see what they got off and kind of looked at which box you might want to focus on first, or like what was your processes for selecting boxes? I know that's like a bunch of questions.
no, that's totally fine. Trying to think how I want to answer that. So me personally, I didn't rely on a lot of these automated tools again, just because I'm a big believer in you have to learn how to do it manually before you can ever consider yourself to be in a position to utilize something to do it for you automatically. In my opinion, you don't learn that way. I mean, if you're just going, I mean, for example, if you're just going into an engagement and expecting to run something like LinPeas or WinPeas, if you're able to get, a low privilege cell or low privilege access on a box, and you're expecting to use a tool like that to help you escalate your privileges, you're going to be dead wrong, because a lot of times a client's not going to let you do that. Or whether or not there is a case where they don't say you can't do it, it's going to generate so much noise, you're going to get detected. So in terms of the automation stuff I would do, or if I was to work on more than one box at a time, absolutely. I mean, if I knew specifically what IP addresses I was targeting, I'd absolutely enumerate them all individually and let them do their thing, because you always want some kind of enumeration going on in the background. And based on the output of some of that stuff, like just basic nmap scripts, and if nmap reveals SMB on a host, that might be the one you want to target first,
Yeah.
just because of how vulnerable and how easy it is to get an initial hold on a box that's running SMB.
Was
So
tunnel vision a big issue for you when you took the exam?
yes, so I actually had to take the exam twice. I'm not going to be one of those people out here to brag, oh, I passed it the first try or
I think
anything
most
like
people
that.
lie when they say that shit. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be real.
I'm gonna actually agree with you a bit. So I'm not going to go into details why I agree, but I had to take the exam twice. Not so much for lack of technical capability, but just I've never been in a situation like that before where I only had 23 hours and 45 minutes to do something like this. So I wasn't mentally prepared for it. And it's a completely different game once that timer ticks and you go through the proctor process that offensive security has now, which I think is fantastic. It just increases the credibility of the certification now, because I know in the past there have been a couple leaks from certain individuals, and I know there were also services in the past where there were certain individuals being paid to take the exam for other people. So I loved to see offensive security come out and implement something like proctoring, because then it just makes that certification a lot more credible. So really, it's really easy to get tunnel vision in that environment. You're working on a box, you might feel like you're stuck, you're going down a rabbit hole, and before you know it, you just spent 6 hours on that box and you've got no progress. And then when you realize you just spent 6 hours on that box and you look down, you only got 15 hours left, you start to panic, you start to lose focus. And when you're in that much of a time crunch, if you're not taking solid notes or you're not taking breaks, a lot of times you're going to find yourself running the same commands you've already ran before. You just forgot to save the output because you were in such a rush. So it is absolutely vital to go in there with a plan, go in there with notes, go in there, get a couple bottles of water, come up with a schedule to take breaks, whether you're making progress or not. Just getting up from your chair and walking around, getting blood flowing through your legs and to your brain just by standing up and coming back with that fresh mind, it pays off immensely. I can't, I mean, me personally, there was a point where I was stuck and I was like, I'm not going to pass the second time. So I forced myself to get up from the chair. I went downstairs and I walked around my block. And while I was on that walk, I just had an epiphany. I was like, wait a second. And then I just realized something, and I literally ran back to my house, ran upstairs, looked at that vector. That vector was it.
Oh, that is.
So if I did not take that break, tunnel vision would have been the death of that attempt.
Was that on the second try where you had this
That
epiphany?
that was on the second try where I
Oh,
had that epiphany.
so I guess the first time you didn't really. Did you take those breaks? Or
No.
yeah.
The first time I didn't take breaks, I was like, oh, I got this, no problem. I was really close at the end of the first one. It was just time got the best of me. I wasn't taking frequent breaks. I didn't go in there with a plan or a schedule or stick to anything. I was just winging it. And I mean, the exam really is more mental than it is technical.
Did you feel like they were so like CTFs are kind of classified into like different categories, or like I like to put them into different categories. There's like the puzzle maze, and then there's
Hmm.
like the realistic version. Did you find like the boxes you were given during the exam were
I
puzzles?
can't talk about
Oh,
the exam.
oh okay. How about
The
the
labs,
labs?
yes.
Did you find they were like CTFs, like puzzles, or like a real life, like real life? Like they were
It's a
real.
mix of everything in those labs. It really is a mix of everything. There are certain boxes that feel really CTFE and puzzly. Like, I don't want to go into details about the box details, but I remember one of them was, it was an image of a boat, and it said, bow, stern. The third line was blank. So fill in the blank. That's port. So that immediately says to your head, all right, so port knocking is probably going to reveal a port, right? So then you got to figure out, all right, what's the sequence? And then there's another puzzle. You solve that puzzle, that gives you your number sequence. You port knock in that sequence, there's your port. And that was the solution to
Well,
the box.
there's something I actually
So,
haven't done much, like port knocking. Well, I like enumeration, but like I know you can do like a certain number of knocks on a port, like a crypto key to get it to open.
mhm.
Was it kind of like that, or like did you just poke around? I guess you can't talk about it.
Yeah, again, I don't want to go into too many details on the boxes themselves. And when it
Um,
comes to the exam, it's forbidden. I'm not telling you
did
anything. So,
so you said you tried you liked Vulnhub. Which one did you actually think you gave you better skills, Vulnhub or Hack the Box? And I know you had, you know, um,
so in terms of better skills, it's really tough to say. I'll say the Vuln Hub machine. I mean, both platforms are equally great in their own right. Vuln Hub didn't get boxes as frequently as Hack the Box did, but what I liked most about Hack the Box is again the OSCP. They're more about forcing you to teach yourself than they are them teaching you. So when a box is active on Hack the Box, you can't let your frustrations get the better of you, and you Google a solution and you just follow the solution, get your flags, and get credit. As long as people are following the rules, you still have to work through. You have to ask for hints. You have to ask for nudges if you're stuck. And sometimes there's people willing to help you. Other times there's people just that want to give you the answer.
yeah.
And those are the people I can't stand because, I'm not asking for the answer. I'm asking, what am I missing here? The thing with VulnHub is they don't have that active or retired platform or capability that Hack the Box has. You just Google a VulnHub machine, you're going to see X number of write-ups for it. It's really easy to get in the mindset where if you're stuck, you Google it and the solution is given to you on a silver platter, and then you just find yourself following the solution instead of answering the initial question, which is, why am I stuck?
Now that's something like if you do a box like that, like you look at the answers and you really are stumped. One thing I would recommend is doing a write up about the box. So if you had to Google the answers and you're not sure, do a write up about the box and go into the processes of how you exploit the box a little bit and talk about things you didn't understand in your write up, and that will help you develop a greater understanding of. So next time you see it, you'll know what to do.
Yeah, there's an old expression. I don't remember the exact quote word for word, but it was something like, if you can teach it to other people, you further teach yourself on the same topic. So
Like
it's something along those lines.
So like you failed the first time. What did you do after you failed to get ready? So you developed a plan and like what did you do? Developed a plan and like what resources did you um like where did you go to go figure out where your shortcomings were? Like do
Sure.
you have any resources people could go to?
So the first time I failed the exam, I knew I failed. Like I killed the VPN 8 hours early and I went to sleep. I'm not even exaggerating. I was so tired. I was so frustrated. I went into that exam cocky as hell just because I kept telling myself, I owned the entire lab environment. My hack the box rank is decent. I went in there all cocky saying, "Oh, this won't be an issue." And then when I actually sat down and I did that proctor process and I connected to that VPN and I saw what the requirements were, as soon as I started, it's almost like I it's almost like I mentally forgot everything I knew how to do
Yeah.
because that time limit that does something to you mentally that you are not prepared for.
Yep.
So, as far as technical resources, there really aren't any that I leveraged because I felt my limitation with not passing the first time wasn't so much a technical thing, it was a mental thing. So I just started Googling ways to manage time and looking at other people's experiences. And one of the biggest things I've heard the most consistent is take breaks, go in there with a plan and stick to it. So I forced myself to do that. And within 12 hours, I was done.
Oh.
So
Who did you follow? Did you follow anybody on Twitter to kind of see what they were doing? I know TJ Null. He does OffSec. I think that's his name. Yeah, TJ Null.
yeah. Tony, he is the offensive security community manager. I do follow him on Twitter personally. I know the company he's part of on the side, NetSec Focus, and that community. I try to stay away from. I tried to stay away from those communities when I was going through this process, just because I didn't want to get too comfortable asking for answers to solutions. Because in that exam, you're not going to have that access. You got to remember these proctors, they're looking at your screen and they're looking at you. So you can't really make phone calls, you can't do anything. And I felt if I got too comfortable with that pattern of asking other people for help instead of figuring out the solution on my own, then it wasn't doing me any good. It was doing me more harm. And really, one of my biggest personal issues I've found, especially with retired boxes from Hack the Box. There's a lot of great authors out there that write up solutions, and a lot of them are unique in their own way. Obviously, IPSEC is an absolute legend in that respect. But one of the patterns I found is all these write ups are about the solutions. They don't really go through the mental thought process. You don't see the struggles, you don't see where they got stuck and what they did next. And that's one of the things I think that might benefit people a lot more is seeing them get stuck. Because myself included, I'm walking around, I've got the OSCP framed on my wall and a number of other security certifications from industrial control systems, but I don't consider myself an expert because I don't know everything. And a lot of people think I'm like a god in some respects, but I'm really not. I get stuck on the simplest things if I don't do them every day. A lot of times I find myself having to go back and Google the syntax for certain things that other people are being super judgmental for, and that's a problem
Really?
in the community as a whole. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. Um, I didn't know that was a thing. Um, Usually everybody I've been around is really nice. And I think I was pretty lucky to bump into OXDF. Um, and he really helped me, I guess, blossom.
Yeah. No, OXDF is great. SnowScan does great write ups. I guess as far as personal OSCP experience, IPSEC, has said some things to me about, he did it so long ago before any of this stuff really blew up, but also Derek Rook, he's another one that I've followed on Twitter for quite a while and has been very responsive. If I've ever had to ask a question or anything, that there's no shortage of people willing to help you and coach you and guide you. there is a shortage of people willing to do it. Sometimes I think there are some people that get too big for their own good, and then you find out they're more focused on a celebrity status, if you will, than remembering what they were before they got that celebrity status. I'm not going to call out anyone specifically, but that's why I don't mind having the lower follower count on Twitter, because that gives me the opportunity to really kind of answer more people at that point. Because if I spend more time going through my notifications, seeing what all these notifications are for versus answering people's questions, I mean, chicken, I know you've reached out to me quite a bit throughout the process. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to answer you as quick as I have if I spent so much time going through people liking statuses and retweeting and all that other stuff.
And I'm just gonna put a little plug in here. The Breaksec Slack is a great place to find mentors because you won't have those kind of things, and it's really a good place if you stay in the community in our channel and you talk and you get people know. You'll definitely find some really good mentors in there. IPSEC member, OXDF, Coco Pajamas. I can't remember his Twitter page.
Nice. Yeah, I know
he's
you're talking
really
about.
smart. And he does rapping with InfoSec. I need to go look. But he's really cool. He's a Python genius.
Yeah. Post that in the Twitch chat.
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
Because I'm not familiar with that Slack, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll likely be heading there myself, because there's a really good Discord channel for InfoSec prep, and there's tons of OSCP current holders in there. There's a few OSCEs and OSWPs, and I was in there for quite a while, answering questions and things like that. But then I started to see that there's a lot of the questions were always geared about silver bullets. They kept just wanting the answers. They didn't want the guidance on, hey, what am I missing? Can you explain this to me? I can't quite figure it out. They're more asking, I can't get into this box. How do I get in it? Or how do I pass the exam? Or what am I going to see when I go into the exam?
Did you ever do Net Wars?
I never did Net Wars formally. I've always wanted to, but a lot of those things are really team centric, and I mean, I'm a big team player. The company I work at now, the company I worked at formerly, I'm not really part of a CTF team per se. I'm kind of like a ringer in a lot of aspects. I've been reached out to a number of times for some ICS CTFs or SCADA CTFs. I've been a part of a few of those, not under this handle Blitz, because this is more personable to me. I've had various other handles for those. But I mean, it's something I'd like to participate in more. It's just time doesn't allow it right now. I'm super busy with work and a couple other things going on personally. But I'm looking to change that in the future. I finally decided to stop being lazy and set up my blog. I actually just set that up this morning, and my first post was just about this session we're having right now. So I do plan on writing some write-ups, because, again, write-ups are a good way to reform that you're teaching yourself as you're teaching other people. And another person in the Twitch chat right now, I'm just going to say it again, is focus more on good writing rather than good technical writing. Because, I mean, you can write your report and have it be 250 pages, but you can have the same thing be 35 or 40 pages. It's all about content. You don't really need to post a screenshot for everything. You just need to write it in a way where someone non-technical can follow the same steps you took and get the same result.
How long can you, I mean, I don't even know if you can say this, but I'm not pressuring you. Like, how long was your report, like in terms of pages? Like when you.
So yeah, no, I've actually got my report right behind me. After I passed, I bought a laminator, printed it, laminated it, just so I can have something to hang on my bookshelf, and got it binded as well. It was 73 pages.
Holy. Really? Was it all text or like pictures?
No, there's pictures and there's things like that. this is public knowledge. Again, one of the machines is a buffer overflow machine, so obviously you have to provide your POC code at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
And that code alone can take up a page. So
Okay.
it's really just all the technical writing I've done in my career as a pen tester and security architect that led me to have such a short report, because I've written everything from executive summaries that are only 5 pages or less, because what board member has time to sit there and read a 50-page report? None of them. They want to know, should I be worried? Yes or no. And if they should be worried, explain why. If not, explain why. So I've done everything from 400-page workstation design documents to 5-page or less executive summaries. You need to focus more on the content than you are at the length of the document.
This is kind of like a little bit off topic because you said ICS CTFs, and like one of the most common questions I get is where are they? So like why aren't they a thing like on the internet, like Hack the Box or like Vuln Hub? Why aren't there any ICS?
So ICS, Industrial Control Systems, ties to a physical process. It's not just like a web server running a website. It's actually running something physical. You'll obviously, if you say IT, you know what that means. In the ICS world, it's OT, which is operational technology. And the easiest way to differentiate that I always tell people is IT moves data, OT moves physics. It's just, that's how it is. The software that is required for a lot of these processes to work are very expensive, and the software always interacts with some kind of physical piece of hardware, and that hardware is very expensive. So you'll most commonly find them at DEF CON at the ICS Village, or Dragos does a great one in conjunction with SANS. I know SANS has they got like a train village. That's
Did you ever get to do those CTFs before?
Unfortunately, I haven't. SANS is pretty expensive to get involved with. If it's public or sponsored, I will. It's just sometimes I'll go into those and I'll see they seem to be more team centric rather than individual centrics. And I'd love to, but sometimes even myself, I get a little intimidated. When I see 4 or 5 people going in as a team versus me. Eventually, I will. But just because of the cost of SANS, even my OSCP, I paid for that out of pocket, even though normally companies are paying for that, and same thing for SANS, companies are paying for that too. The companies I've worked for have not been as endorsing of it.
That's a real thing. I mean, you hear like a lot of people talk about like your company will pay for it, but like once you go to your company and you start talking to them, like some of them just ain't having it. Like and like I've even had like during an interview, I talked to the hiring manager, and he's like, "Yeah, we do everything." And then like the second round of interviews, I talked to like the guys and everybody who works there, and I was like, "Well, he was saying like y'all get like all this cool stuff," and they're all like, "No." So like there is a bit of a bait and switch sometimes with employers. Like they might say they might do something, but when it comes to like actually owning up later to that promise, they're gonna try to sidestep you.
And that is something you need to be very careful of. That's some professional advice for you. I'm actually going through that right now. A lot of hiring managers and a lot of HR people, their goal is to get you in the door, because if they don't fill that position, they're going to lose it. So the position I'm actually currently in right now, I was told there's a lot of red teaming, there's a lot of purple teaming, there's be the captain of their CTF team, for things like Black Hat and DEF CON, and get to do all this cool stuff, all these cool trainings, get to do all these presentations. And then I get here and not a single of them are real, unfortunately. So be very careful. Ask ask all the questions you can and get it in writing. Don't get it verbally, because if you get it in writing, then you got something to hold them accountable. Whereas verbal, you don't really have that, and that's something obviously I know I've had throughout my career. It's just with this position in particular, I actually met 2 of the former teammates that were on this team and no longer are at a training I did about 2.5 years ago, and they've been soliciting it to me ever since, saying we definitely need a guy with your talent and your caliber in here. We can do so many cool things if we had someone like you on the team. So throughout I took their personal word because I
I'm
knew
gonna
them
kill
from the
you guys.
training. No, it is a much larger company than my former. It's still a good experience, and it's still a good learning opportunity. I've learned a lot, particularly more about maneuvering political barriers within a large organization than anything technical. So there's always value in everything you do. You just have to find it and be open-minded about it. I know a lot of people would have just been frustrated second weekend and quit. And, how's that going to look on your resume if you just left a company you were with for, 8 or 9 years and now you're already looking to leave after 2 weeks? What happened? Are you a flight risk or what? So you got to be mindful of everything because there's consequences for everything you do, positive and negative.
Do companies look at that like flight risk, I guess? Because I've actually
Absolutely.
I've heard of
Absolutely.
companies like hiring people and then like the next month they're the person you hired's like deuces. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that
that like
does
burning a
happen.
bridge? Do you think? When,
It depends on the reason for the exit. In my current position, I'm responsible for a lot of the hiring and interviewing. I can't
oh,
even tell you how many interviews I've done in the past
really?
3 months of
Dang.
being here. But and all the people I've hired, I don't lie to any of them. I'm making sure everything they're being told about the position is coming from me and not somebody else, because I don't want them to come in and with the false pretense that I came in under. So a lot of the patterns that I look for as an interviewing person is I look at the length of time they've been with the company, and I look for those patterns. Who are they with? Who do they go to? Are they going to jump ship here if they're presented with another opportunity? If it might look, you got to keep in mind the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
No,
So,
no, it just seems that way.
yep.
So like, how did you even get into ICS? Because it like, obviously like doing CTFs and kind of like developing an interest into it really doesn't seem like an option. So how'd you get exposure to it, and how'd you figure out it was going to be your career path?
Sure. So obviously, kind of dating myself here, but my first job was just your basic desktop support technician, right? So at that company I was with, it was a pretty decently sized oil and gas company, and I worked my way up to service desk manager. And one of my primary responsibilities at that point was getting visibility into all of the company's assets, which really it would more often be a security initiative. But because I was a service tech manager, I managed all the local IT people who were the boots on the ground to get all this work done. I was chosen to lead that effort, so I flew out to a couple sites with to meet up with some of my team members. Keeping in mind I never really set foot into a gas plant before, so I was trying to remember how old I was. I was maybe 23, 24 at the time. And so I walked into this plant and, we were assessing it, looking at the network closet, looking at the IDFs and all this stuff. And I walked in the control room and I just saw your basic control room for an oil and gas plant, and the operator there clicked on a button and it ignited a furnace. And I was like, what? So I walked over and I talked to him a bit, and he was showing me all the stuff they do just by clicking on these things on a screen, which is a human machine interface or a DCS, distributed control system, and just watching how this technology works. I was hooked. Just the fact the click of a button, big flame. It's pretty cool.
Um,
It's a lot more technical than that. I could talk all day on this,
what's
but
modus like? Or I'm probably not. I'm butchering the word. I know.
modus.
Modus. I'm butchering it. And I'm gonna tongue tie myself forever. So I'm hoping you're gonna be able to fill in the gaps here.
Are you talking Modbus?
Yes.
Okay. No, Modbus it's a data communication protocol, back from the late 70s, early 80s, and it's just a way to connect industrial components. I mean, it, most of the time it's used to connect with an RTU, which is a remote terminal unit within a SCADA system, which is supervisory control and data acquisition, and it's most often found in the power industry and electrical sectors. It's a very old protocol. It's very diverse, and it's because it's old. It's obviously got some security issues with it. But one of the things you'll often find with older technology is they were designed without security in mind. They were designed to just work. So you can't really just go in and change everything. But really, the way it does is it works off of a base of function codes. And the first function code, it reads coils and reads discrete inputs. And then next step is if you have to make any changes, you can either force or write to those coils or multiple coils. And then the next step in that code is it reads the input registers or reads the holding registers, and then it writes single holding registers. I mean, it's a pretty good process. It's hard to, it's a lot easier to explain visually.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you think they're gonna update it? Like the I don't know, because it's been around forever. I was just curious. Do you think they're ever gonna upgrade it, or
I
just
mean,
don't fix it?
it's one of those things. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people misinterpret about the industry I'm in is they don't realize how sensitive it is or how impractical it is to just upgrade stuff. I mean, some of this technology that's running our nation's critical infrastructure today, uh, a lot of times it's still running on Windows XP or earlier. And when you've got these IT minded security people, they're walking around saying, "You
Oh
actually
yeah.
allow XP in your system? Like, do you know what you're doing?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I know what I'm doing. I'm making sure things still run so you can play with your toys and so you can drive a car and so we have clean energy and so we keep the lights on. And so everything you use that's made out of plastic or rubber, you continue to use that today."
So those
So
kind of people kind of annoy me. Like they'll see like an old operating system and then they kind of like lord over you, like they're better or something. Like, but it like
there,
it needs to be this way, and you can't change it. But they just that doesn't click in their head, I guess. I kind of I don't know. It's a pet peeve, I guess. Um, because
yeah, it's something you're going to come across. But I don't take it personal. I take it with a grain of salt. It's an opportunity to educate. There's a lot of talk right now, and it's been an initiative for many years about bridging the convergence between IT and OT. So a lot of it is just explaining to them why it exists and why we it's not practical to replace it. I mean, I can't reveal the facilities that this technology exists, but I'll just give you an example. Replacing a single XP box at a site I know will cost over $27 million,
just for one
and that's
box.
not that's not even the process of replacing the box. That's shutting the plant down
Oh,
to replace the box, upgrade the software, upgrade the applications, rerun some cables, and that plant being down for X number of days costs revenue for the company.
all right.
That's $27 million for one box. What do you think they're going to go with option wise? Keep the box there until they can't run no more, or rip it out and replace it because of Eternal Blue, even though that machine's not connected to the internet? How are you going to exploit it if it's not connected to the internet? You have to exploit it physically there, sitting there on a network. All right, well, it's behind a control room door. You need a badge to get in. They don't leave those doors propped open. It's just you got to measure risk versus reward with a lot of these things. You have to air gap them. You have to isolate them. A lot of times they're just thrown in a door, turn the lock, throw away the key, and forget about it. I mean, I know some plants oh man, they bought at least 20, 25 machines on eBay running the same operating system, the same application version, just in case that primary machine dies. They have a backup they can put in to not impede operations.
And you talked about like the command console and there's also air gap. Really, you mentioned air gap. And this kind of ties into that. Where do attackers like plant themselves? Like if they're trying to attack like the facility, are they can they even hide in like the machinery, or do they like hide themselves in the command center and that's how they like cause damage, or
Uh, Yeah, that's a question I get asked a lot. I can't publicly answer that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
um,
And that's a common answer you're going to be given if you ask other people in the industry as well. So just
good.
keep that in mind.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I appreciate that.
Hmm.
Loose ships sink ships.
Yeah.
That's phrase.
It's not so much that, it's more so, I mean, a lot of this isn't proprietary. It can be found, it can be done. It's going to take a lot of work to know how it works, to be able to do it. But me just even giving the smallest hint is enough for somebody to piece together an attack path. Because obviously, there's no such thing as anonymity on the internet. I mean, my handle's out there, and it's not going to be hard to find my identity and find the companies I've worked for. So,
No, that's true. Um, that's a good question too. Uh, what are some of the common questions you get asked about ICS that maybe you could answer now? Because you,
there are no common questions with
ICS.
ICS. I mean, a lot of people just ask, "What is it? Like, what does it mean? What are some of the biggest concerns? What are the things that keep me up at night?" In an IT mind, confidentiality, integrity, and availability are most important in that order. You'll hear that phrase a lot, CIA. That's in the IT mindset. In the OT mindset, availability is number one, followed by confidentiality or integrity, with either the last two being interchangeable depending on the industry they're in. If it's a manufacturing process, like if it's a Pepsi plant, they don't want their recipe getting out there, so confidentiality might be more important than integrity. Or if it's a gas plant, integrity might be more important than confidentiality.
How do
Just because a lot of this stuff does translate to saving people's lives. I mean, you can't just go out and scan one of these networks. These devices are so sensitive. Even a single ARP request can throw off a process. And just throwing off that process can cause a misreading on a meter. And a misreading on a meter can relate to more pressure in a valve than can be handled, and things can go boom. I've got a number of contractors and friends in the industry that are missing fingers, missing limbs, because someone didn't know any better.
Oh, wow. So
It's not to be taken lightly. It's something we take very, very serious.
you kind of mentioned you like stumbled upon the ICS world, and you also hired people. How do you see like other people getting into the industry you're in? Like the people you're hiring or looking at, like how do they have the similar path? Like they stumbled on it,
Sim-
or they go to
Similar
school?
path. I mean, if you go to school to be an engineer or process engineer, you're thrown into the process. You're not going to have that IT knowledge being in the, or I don't want to say you're not going to have that knowledge, but you're not going to be as focused on the IT as if you're a process engineer, because your goal is to keep that process running, keep that company making money. If you want to be, if you're in the IT space now and you want to merge over, I mean, people like me, we geek out over this topic. We're more than happy to talk through it and explain it. Anytime someone comes up to my desk, if we ever get back to a normal world again post COVID, and they want to say, hey, how does this mask manufacturing facility actually work? I'll take you to that plant and I'll show you the ins and outs. I'll show you the PLCs. I'll show you the robots that are making these, and I'll show you how the palletizers and thermoformers work.
Wow. How long did it take you to become so knowledgeable in ICS world? Was this like
It,
a long journey, or is it like
I don't even consider myself knowledgeable. This
uh,
industry is so vast. I
it's
mean, I've been doing
specialized? I
it.
guess. So
It is specialized. I've been doing it for the last 15 years, and I refuse to call myself an expert or a professional just because there's so much I do not know.
so like when people are like going for like if you're in school or you stumble upon it, like do you already have to have like an idea of like where you want to focus in the ICS world? Um, where I guess your company would, right? So you'd work there and you stumbled upon it. Um,
Yeah, your company would. I mean, it's a good question. I'm not too sure. I mean, because ICS is broad. I mean, you
Yeah.
got power and utility, you got energy, you got oil and gas, you got manufacturing, you got automotive, you got, I mean, there's so many different industries contained within the ICS umbrella. But I mean, when you get to the physical component level, you'll hear the term PLC a lot for programmable logic controller. And those are devices that you write programs and applications that send commands to either a robot or another physical process to actually execute a job. That type of stuff sometimes can be translatable to different industries. I mean, a lot of them run off of ladder logic, or if it's a Siemens product, it's going to run off Siemens Step 7, or if it's Allen Bradley or RS Logics or anything like that. A lot of those developers and automation guys are able to look at that source code of the application and see what it's doing. That's not my level. I mean, I can't look at a ladder logic and tell you exactly how it works line for line, but I can tell you how it works high level and what it does.
Um, as like so like is Modus is a protocol, but is it like
Modbus.
Modbus? But is it like a is it like Python? Do you like code it like Python or like or is that just like the HTTP? Like it's just something you guys use to transmit the data over it, or
It,
is it?
no,
Is it like a
it's a
programming language?
TCP/IP protocol. It's not an application.
Okay,
It's not a web server. It's a physical.
it's a physical
I
thing.
mean, it's just like 5 or 6 tables.
Oh, okay. I always kind of make things out more than they are, I guess. Um,
No, no, it's a good question. I mean, Modbus is just one of the many things out there in this space. I don't have much exposure to it just because it's most commonly found in the power industry. I haven't really seen it in use um, in my day-to-day exposure. The only times I have seen it have been in trainings or collaborating with others in the community.
do you think doing like the OSCP like brought value to your job? Like you're able to kind of like do more um if
From
you have an
a tech
understanding? Yeah, like a technical point.
from a technical point, not really, just because I mean I've already been a pen tester a number of years before tackling the OSCP. It's definitely helping uh, foster conversations and collaborations. The certification is kind of like a badge of honor. It's not the most technical one out there, but it is one of the most respected out there. It's definitely the most value for the money. I mean, it's just, it
Are the
is a
other exams more
huge,
expensive?
I
I
don't
never
know.
actually thought about that. To be
I know,
totally
I
honest.
know everything Sands is. There are a number of industrial ones by Sands I'd love to get, but the initial cost for those are upwards to 7 grand. And, the OSCP is just a one and done. You don't have to pay to renew it, whereas Sands, you do.
Oh, really?
So,
I didn't know
yeah,
that. Do you have to
there
spend
are
seven
recurring
grand to renew
costs.
it?
I don't know if it's 7 grand to
It better be
renew
like
it personally.
$50.
Uh, it,
That front's
uh,
expensive.
and I don't even know for sure if it is a fee to.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
someone in Twitch chat just said it's 450 to renew it. So
So we often hear like there's a skill shortage in InfoSec, but is and we kind of like I don't know, is maybe that's not really the case, but is there a skills shortage in the ICS security world? Is that like something people should focus on maybe? Or is it hot? You know what I'm saying?
it's a good question. I will say I don't know the numbers specifically, but I remember at one point when I was hiring someone to backfill my former role at my last company, my boss asked me to help him write the job description and help backfill just because he didn't know the space as well as I did. So just the amount of people that were applying and looking at their experience, there was probably maybe one ICS person for every 70 IT people. And
Dang.
in the ICS space, once you get your feet planted in the ground, you usually don't leave the place. just because there's not as many positions out there. I mean, there's definitely a demanding need for it, especially now as more things are connecting up to the internet and the cloud. But the mindset you have with security and IT is not easily translatable to security and OT or ICS. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different ball game. You got to remember security and IT. You know, a lot of their questions are, "Hey, how do I secure these accounts? How do I secure this server?" And IT and I or OT and ICS, it's how do I secure people's lives? You
Um,
know, Dragos is one of the biggest companies out there doing this. There's a reason their tagline is safeguarding civilization.
um, and you kind of so like this is kind of something. So like, do companies like these power plants and other industrial things, do they bring in pen testers, or do they prefer having their own internal team just for security reasons to test like the real important things, and they just kind of have like the pen testers come do the not critical infrastructure, or like do they bring in pen test teams to reviews in the infrastructure?
No, good question. You typically don't find a common frequency for pen testers in that space. I don't know any companies that are actually in that space directly that bring their own internal team to do that. A lot of times you'll outsource it to a third party because when you're doing it internally, you're kind of biased in a way because you already know what the infrastructure is like. So you know the mechanisms in place. What you really need to be doing is assessing it from an outsider perspective as if they were an adversary or a malicious actor.
And that's actually kind of like one thing, because like especially with bug bounties, like you got to think outside the box, and like there's just things you'll like you'll find that other people will like look over, you know, like because I found bugs on like companies that have like thousands of reports, and there's like this bug, and it's like on the main flagship product that's just been overlooked, and you just kind of like that outside perspective. um what other certs? So you already mentioned SANS, but are you gonna go for the OWSPE? Is that it? Or
The OWSP,
yeah,
the or OSWP rather, the Offensive Security Wireless Professional,
yeah.
probably not, unless I take it for free. Because again, I mean, even still today, I'm personally funding all my continued learning and certifications. So I probably won't take it unless a company is sponsoring me to take it. But I'm definitely going to go after the OSCE.
Oh, that's what I was talking
Um,
about. Yeah, the what is
yeah,
that?
that one I will be pursuing. OffSec announced that they're renewing the uh, the course material for it after the success of renewing the material for PWK, which is the OSCP. So I'm holding off for that until they drop the new course for the OSCE, which I think they said they're actually dropping that certification altogether and making it into like two or three
Oh,
different certifications or something along those lines. So I'm just waiting for more details around that.
is that the one where you exploit binaries? Like it's
Uh, Something
I haven't even ran
along
into
those
that
lines.
one. Um, do you think the OSCP is a good place for noobs to start out, or do you think a noob should put that off for a bit, or do you think it's like the beginning certificate? Um, like, what's your opinion on like the needing of it? I suppose.
So I don't really like using the term noob um, in this space only because I think, you know, we're all
Learner.
unique in our own ways. I mean, I know guys and girls that have been pen testers the last 10, 12 years and still can't get the OSCP. And I've heard stories of 16-year-olds going in and getting the OSCP. The OSCP should not be uh, a measuring tool for measuring someone's skill. If it's, you know, the younger you are, I would encourage you to get it just because it looks really good on your resume and it really helps. I mean, a lot of the certifications out there, like the CEH and the Sec Plus and all that, those are textbook tests. They're not hands-on tests. The OSCP is one of those ones that the hands-on test, it's got the validity and it's got the credibility. to really help drive that message that, yeah, you know what you're doing. It doesn't say you are one, but it says you've got the techniques down to where you can develop into one.
Um. So, I think you about answered all my questions. Is there anything anybody would like to ask Blitz about the OSCP, maybe industrial control systems? It's a pretty rare opportunity to get to talk to an ICS person. I really enjoyed this because
And,
I've always heard Leslie Carlhart talk about it,
yes.
and
Yep.
I've always heard Emily, like they always talk about it, but it's just abstract to me when they talk about it through like all of their talks, and it just never like I don't know like doesn't click, I guess. Um,
Sure. No. But like I said, Dragos, I mean, they are the leader in this space for a reason. They are all incredibly smart and incredibly talented people. They know what they're talking about. There's a reason their name carries so much weight. I mean, me personally, anytime I see a webinar or seminar hosted by them, I try to do my best to attend just because I also learn something new every time. I mean, they are some of the smartest people at doing what they're doing.
mm-hmm.
So there's a reason they're some of the ones on the front lines.
Are there
So
other like competitors to Dragos, I guess, that are like maybe second best, or
yeah, I mean, I can't really. I mean, as far as so Dragos has a platform, right? I mean, they have a physical product too, but they also offer professional services. I think their competitors aren't really service providers. I think they're just companies that also have a platform like Dragos does. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think their biggest ones are from a platform perspective are companies like Clarity, CyberX, and Nozomi Networks. All those products are products that get you visibility into the networks in your industrial control system environments, because really that is step one to securing that infrastructure. You can't protect what you don't know.
is there actually air, I guess you couldn't even answer this, but I was gonna ask if there's like are air gaps everywhere, like because you always hear about it talking, but I always kind of like, is it just like do they actually implement it, like are they just talking the talk but not walking the walk type of deal? um
Yeah, there's air gaps. There's air gap networks, isolated networks, protected enclaves, and just about any sector, any company has got something that's isolated or air gapped. Hopefully it's not connected to the internet. Hopefully there's not a vendor going on site plugging a flash drive in. I mean, it's some of the stuff that keeps me up at night, and that's some of the stuff that's driving the mission for me doing what I'm doing. So
can you even do ICS remote? Like, can you work from home doing ICS, or do you have to be at
absolutely.
like at the plant? Like,
So there's always got to at least be. I mean, I can't really say there's got to be, but I can tell you today there are companies remotely operating gas plants today.
oh wow, um, that's pretty cool. Because I bet there's a whole infrastructure they have to build to properly secure everything going from the employee to the plant. Um,
You would hope so.
oh, I will hope so, and I pray um,
Yep,
that it is that
I
way.
hope so too.
Um, uh, so do you do like I guess we kind of touched on it, but like me, I don't know if you can talk about it. Maybe I can because I'm not going to take the OSCP because it's way too expensive. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know. They might be mad at me, but uh, like we. So did you use Alignum? Because we kind of talked a little bit about the Windows tools, but did you use
Linium?
yeah Illinium? Is that what it's called? I always call it
Yeah.
Alignum, but I
Well,
butcher
it's
every word that comes my
Linenum for
way.
Linux enumeration.
Yeah.
But yes, I have used that. I've used that quite a bit in the hack the box environment. Yeah.
What level of skill do you think somebody should be at when they go for the OSCP? Like maybe not just doing The labs, I mean, you can pretty much go in as a beginner, maybe not fully understanding everything, and do the labs. But like, do you think you got to be like an expert to advanced to do the exam?
I It's tough to answer that because again, different people learn
Oh yeah, because you
in
said the
different
16-year old just
speeds.
came in and rocked it.
Uh, Apparently, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. But just because the materials themselves, like the PDF, is so long and the lab time is what's most valuable, I would encourage anybody considering to get the OSCP is once you buy the course and you get the materials delivered to you, jump in the labs and use the material to compensate for where you're getting stuck in the labs. Or if you don't even know, I mean, it's terrible to say it like this, but even if you don't have the rudimentary knowledge on how to penetrate a box or how to enumerate a box, do things like Vulnhub and hack the box for a little while first. And then when you got the principles down, then jump in. And that's really just so you get the most value for your money because the price tag for the OSCP is so high because of the materials and the labs combined. But once you reach the end of the labs, if you do happen to fail the exam, you can purchase exam attempts, which are significantly cheaper than the course itself. So um,
So can you do a third attempt? Cause like,
you,
or is that, or do you only get
you could
two
do as
attempts?
many attempts as you
Oh,
want. They
well,
just
do
they
they charge
space
you a
them
grand
out
again?
though. No, no,
Okay.
it's not a grand. It depends if you want to do the exam attempt on its own, or if you wanted to get a lab extension, which or if you wanted to purchase new lab time. At the time I took it, that included a complimentary exam retake. I don't know if they're still doing that process anymore. Obviously, I never had a reason to purchase any new lab time after I had achieved the certification. But no, I'd say definitely get your hands dirty in things like Vulnhub, Hack the Box first before you delve into OSCP. Because if you shell out that cash and you go in there and you get frustrated, you're going to end up giving up and quitting, and then you're going to be down so morally that you don't want to be in that position.
How much did it? You don't have to answer this, but I'm just curious. Like, maybe you can give a guesstimate. How much did it? How much did you spend on the exam? Or was it like 1,000 or
So altogether with the course and then the lab extension and the retake, I think I was in it about 2,500, give or take.
wow. Oh wow. Did
Granted, that
actually
was like 2 years ago, so I
did you
don't,
take the
prices
old
might have
test
gone up.
and the new test?
The test is the same.
No, no. I heard they changed up the test recently from the old test, like maybe last year or the beginning of
No,
this
they
year.
they changed they changed the course material and they changed the labs. So they got another lab environment with a lot more machines now. But as far as I know, the exam is still the same. The exam is a pool of machines. And, if you fail the exam the first time and you go to take it again, there's not a guarantee you're going to get the same boxes.
Um, like did I guess you can, I don't even know, but is it public knowledge like how many boxes like the pool is in the exam?
Nope,
Oh
nope.
wow. So it could be quite like a lot. They could pull in the
Yes.
exam.
I will say someone in the Twitch chat just asked, does this OSCP expire like the CCNA, etc.? I'll just answer it verbally. No, it does not. Once you have it, you have it. You don't have to pay renewal fees. You don't have to
Wow.
retake the exam. You don't have to, once you get that hard stock laminated certificate and card, it's yours.
Do they offer replacements for like the cards, or is it like if you lose it, like I don't even understand.
I'm sure they do. I don't know if they have it documented anywhere.
Is the card in there for like to put in your wallet so you can like pull it
Yeah,
out and show it to
yeah,
people?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
I mean, it's the same shape as your government issued ID.
Would you rather
Um,
have been given like a plaque, like like
no,
the
I
card
like
plaque?
the I like the certificate they give you. It's really nice quality. It's 8.5 by 11, so you can go out and get a nice frame for it and hang it up. I did. And the card, I don't keep it in my wallet. I just keep it in the folder that they delivered the certificate in. So
Dude, I would love to see your display for your certificate. So I don't know, like maybe after we're done, you can take a picture and post it on Twitter, or if that's a
uh,
thing because it has your name
I
on it. You can blur that out, I guess.
no, I'm not worried about my name being revealed, but I did just recently move, so I'm still unpacking everything.
Oh,
So
it's in the boxes. Darn it.
there's still a lot of boxes to unpack. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Um, would you say well, okay? How would you rate the boxes on the test in difficulty compared
Not doing
to
it.
the hack the box?
Not doing it.
Ah, sharp.
I'm not telling you
All right.
anything about
How
the
about the
test.
labs?
Stop
How about
trying.
the labs? Okay. How about the labs? Can we set on the labs?
Hack the Box is significantly harder, difficulty wise, than the OSCP in terms of box difficulty.
What what ranking in hack the box did you achieve before you felt like you were confident to go take it?
Um, I don't remember what my rank was in Hack the Box pre OSCP. I just know now it's Elite Hacker. Um, I,
Woo!
I I went on a really big Hack the Box grind when COVID happened, just because I was saving so much time commuting to and from work that I finally got some chance to jump in that platform again.
Did you like any of the new boxes? Because I've had
Oh yeah,
OSDF giving me boxes to do, but I have a I think even you know this. I've had a hack the box problem, um, and like I would just spend days, like every time I got off work, I would just spend every hour I could, even days off. I would just sit there and hack the box, and it eventually evolved into like a hard
an
box
addiction.
addiction. Yeah, it evolved into a pretty serious addiction, and then it kept escalating. So like I did the low boxes, and you'd get that like rush and like a feeling of accomplishment, and then like doing low boxes doesn't do it anymore because eventually you kind of understand how the boxes work, especially the operating systems, and it kind of builds up on itself. Um,
Yeah, I mean, again, and it directly relates to the OSCP in a lot of ways. They are teaching you to teach yourself.
um,
It's you know, I encourage you all, as you work through different platforms, different boxes, different challenges. If you throw a command at something and you're presented with an error message or it doesn't work the way you thought it should, figure out why, because that is not going to be the only time you're going to be faced with that message. And if you are good at note taking, I mean, I do write ups for Hack the Box just like I was writing a pen test report. I don't publish them, I keep them just for me. But I do plan on sharing some newer stuff because I plan to be a little bit more active in the blog I set up this morning. But if you have notes, you can reference to at a later time if you're ever in like an engagement, for example, or you do another box 6 months from now and you recognize something, you have a reference you can go back to because you took solid notes. And that'll save you so much more time instead of having to research what you already knew the answer to, you just forgot.
This is true. I made my blog. I created a blog just for this, and I actually looked through all the themes I could to try to find the ability to search. So if you actually go to my blog, there's a search bar, and my blog's just like a brain dump of everything I've ever done, and it's not really curated, but I can navigate it pretty well. It's, my brain's a little scattered compared to some, I suppose.
No,
But I
no
really
problem.
like that ability to search. So like put your stuff up on the blog and have it like index all your notes and stuff
Sure.
so you can search
And
for it.
I know I've said a couple times tonight that IPSEC is like literally the king. He's a legend of Hack the Box. I don't know how many people know this. This is not an endorsement of any kind. It's not solicited. I'm not being paid to do this. I'm posting his website in the Twitch chat right now. So if you go to his
Oh,
website, there's an enter search term box. So if you're doing a box and you see, SSH, for example, as an open port, if you type SSH in that search box, you'll see the description metadata from all of his YouTube videos when he encountered SSH and exactly what he did regarding SSH. So,
He
I
did spend
mean,
some time on this, guys. Just FYI, because I remember
yeah,
him talking
so
to me about doing his blog.
yeah, so if you just search SSH, the very top link is a link to the video book where he attempted to grab an SSH key for the reader user.
Uh,
And then that key was poorly formatted, so he uses PDF to text to see if formatting is better. It's just a lot of quick tips and tricks.
don't ever go to IPSec and ask him a question if you can't go to his website and find it. Just FYI.
I will say,
Because he'll tell you to go to his website pretty quick.
he will. He gets so many requests from so many people. And again, I know I said it a couple times earlier. I'll say it again. That is a problem with a lot of people's mindset is they're spending too much time asking for the answer instead of asking for guidance to the solution. Do not ask for the answer.
He will guide you because I don't know. I just get to talk to these cool people. I don't know how, but he will guide you, but he'll never give you an answer. He'll never give you a direct answer. He'll give you a riddle. And
Neither
he
will
may not
I.
even respond to you. But he may 3 days later be like, "Did you figure it out?" But don't bother IPSec with questions.
I wouldn't say don't bother him, but I would say
Don't nag him.
don't feel let down if you don't get a
Yeah,
response because he is a really busy individual.
yeah.
So
That's one thing to always keep in mind. If you guys are looking for mentors, don't harass them, and don't be upset if they don't get to you right away. Be patient. It'll take you a long way developing a relationship with that person.
yeah,
It really will.
and Discord really is a good tool for stuff like that. So I posted the link in the Twitch chat for the InfoSec prep. That more relates to the offensive security certifications and products. Hack the Box also has an official Discord server. That's another good place where a lot of knowledgeable people hang out and are willing to offer nudges and hints on boxes as well. So I'd encourage you to be in both of those if you need help.
Have you done the Hack the Box offshore? Um,
No, I haven't done any of those.
I itch for those. I feel like those would be harder than the OSCP because I think I've had IPSec be like it's hard, like um like it's something else. Um, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
what do you look for when you're hiring people? As a hiring person.
so I find, and this is just my own personal opinion, my own personal view, take for it as you will. I don't look for those diamond in the rough that has everything I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that's got the passion for it, that's eager to learn. And I do not discredit people if they don't know the answer to something, but if they acknowledge and admit they don't know the answer to everything, if they follow up with saying, but they know how to ask, how to find the answer, or they're willing to collaborate with people and ask people, I am all about that. Because the last thing I want is somebody on my team being stuck on something and not saying anything and being stuck on that something for 2 weeks, where if they just raised their hand and said, I don't understand this, can someone help me out? We could have had it figured out in 2 hours. I mean, it's just, yeah.
How many people do you manage? Is that is that taxing?
If it depends on the level of leader you are. So right now, I mean, I'm the lead for the team. I'm not the manager of the team, so I'm not a people manager. I'm just the lead that interviews people for the team. Ultimately, I have my manager's ear. So if I move someone to the next level, chances are they're going to get an offer. Um, but there's 9 people under me on the team hierarchy. But I don't have anyone work for me directly. It was offered to me as part of the position, but I told my boss I don't like dealing with the HR stuff. I don't like dealing with the personnel stuff. I don't want to deal with the behavior type stuff. I just want to be able to coach them to get the job done, get it done right, and help develop their skill set and their careers.
That's awesome.
That's all I care about.
That's awesome. Any recommendations you could give people? I guess like some people who are late, I guess, to get ready for the OSCP.
Don't be shy to ask questions. Just form your questions in the way I said. Don't make it come across as you're asking for an answer directly. Just say, you're stuck on a box. A lot of times the person on the other end will say, where are you at so far? What have you tried? And if they come back with you, have you tried this or have you thought about it this way? Don't get frustrated and immediately go look for someone else. There's a reason we're answering it that way, because we're trying to get the mindset and the methodology in your mind, because that is the principle of the course.
Yeah. And I probably didn't realize this as much as I did when I was like learning all this, but that's pretty much what my mentors did. And trust me, I begged a lot for answers, and I never got any. So
I know, because you've asked me too.
I think a lot of people know. Like I've begged for answers, and I'll never get them. So I have to sit there and beat my brain. But Hack the Box is an amazing place to start out if you want to get into the hacking world, I suppose, and especially kind of figure out if it's a thing for you. I really enjoyed Hack the Box, and it's a wonderful platform. I know you like VulnHub, but I'm just gonna be real with everybody. I hated VulnHub. I just hated it.
It's fine. It's all about what you prefer. I explained why I liked it more in the beginning.
What boxes on VulnHub? I don't even know if you could answer this because it's probably been so long. But like, what boxes did you on VulnHub? Because so many of them are crap.
How dare you? No, I'm gonna post another link on the Twitch chat. Let me just find it. So a lot of you might recognize this as Tony, aka TJ Null, the community manager for offensive security. He came up with OSCP-like VMs on Hack the Box. But in that Google document, there's another tab on the bottom for VulnHub. All those boxes are fantastic. If you're looking to do the OSCP, the ones highlighted in pink are most similar, and the ones in the blue are still fun. I mean, I think the thing I find most enjoyable with VulnHub again is just because I know there's not going to be a bunch of other people banging on the box like they might if it was Hack the Box, and I don't have to connect to a VPN to do any of it. I don't have to worry about network issues because it's offline on my own network. And yeah, I know CTF style boxes are annoying for a lot of people because that's not real quote unquote pen testing, even though I think that's another problem. I mean, a lot of CTF boxes can be fun. I mean, Stapler, for example, if anyone's seen the movie Office Space, that box is literally very similar, and you'll see a lot of Easter eggs, and that type of stuff is fun. It's different when you do the same thing over and over and over. I mean, when I'm doing a pen test, it's almost like the same thing time and time again. I'm running nmaps, I'm running scripts, I'm dropping responder to capture hashes, I'm moving laterally. Sometimes it's good just to go out and do something different to keep my mind fresh and do something that doesn't feel like so much of a routine. And that's why I like these platforms like VulnHub and Hack the Box.
I like some of these boxes. I'd recommend doing all of the Windows ones, and do Sizzle, do Helper. I think it's Helper.
I think it was Helpline, wasn't it?
Yeah, Helpline. Do Helpline. Do Sizzle. Definitely do Arkham. That's on the VulnHub app. Do Arkham. Hackback. Holiday.
Those are Hack the Box boxes.
Yeah.
Not VulnHub.
But they were. Oh, I see. It's the VulnHub / It's the OSWE. Why is Arkham in there? That's weird.
It's got some flavors of that for that course, I'm sure. I
Did
think
you
I
do
did
Arkham?
Arkham. I did. I
Did you
don't
like
think
it?
I don't remember not if I claimed the flags, but I do remember doing it.
I loved Arkham, and I can't remember his name now. It's Memento something. The guy from
Minotaur.
yeah, he's so awesome. I tried to get him onto the thing, but he's really shy, I guess. And he's Indian, and he's a little afraid of his accent and stuff. But I keep telling him like nobody cares, and like I don't know, I'm a fanboy. So he does a lot of boxes, and I really love all the boxes he touches. He really adds a nice flavor to all the boxes. It makes it really fun to do.
The craziest one I've done recently was forward slash by Sec Gus and InfoSec Jack. That one was ridiculous, but it was fun.
Is it active? Can you talk about it? Or
I don't know if it's active or not.
let's stay away
I
from
was
that.
just looking at because I have my own ranking system I use in my OneNote for the boxes I enjoyed most, and forward slash was up there.
Oh, are you gonna put that on your blog?
Yeah, eventually I'm gonna start uh, publishing more write-ups and stuff, and I'm gonna keep it more in line with what I'm doing start to finish. So if I hit roadblocks, you'll see where I hit those roadblocks and what I'm doing next when I hit those roadblocks. Just like I take notes now. So they'll definitely be a lot longer and a lot different than what a lot of people are used to. But I think that might prove valuable in a lot of cases too.
And I would just like to note on the Breaksec YouTube channel, I've done a lot of the boxes that are on NetSet Focus, and I made videos, and you can watch some of them if you get stuck. But I mean, you can also watch IPSEC do it. There are IPSEC and I will do things differently, so um, my boxes are a little bit different than the way he does it, but you get
And
the
there's
same
nothing
end
wrong with
result.
that. You do what works best for you as long as you get to the same outcome.
Yes. But I
Like
love.
for example, his videos when he does his Nmap scans, he outputs to outputs all format. I just output to text files personally. I mean, it's just there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as you get the same outcome.
Yeah, I actually forgot to start saving my InMap scans. Well, you don't use them in bug
Uh,
bounties as quite as much as people. I mean, I do, but it's not really the same as like a network pen test.
sure, I get it.
Like especially bug bounties, because like the server may be out of scope, and typically I've they most companies do an awesome job with ports, and they only do 80 and 443, and they keep everything else closed. Um, but I don't really use InMap as much as I would like in bug bounties. Maybe that's why I got banned from some of those websites. Uh,
Um, but no, if anyone has any questions or anything after this call, uh, feel free to look me up on Twitter. So I generally try to respond fairly quickly. I do have a few individuals I mentor, definitely not fully booked. So if you are looking for guidance or advice or anything, feel free to reach out.
Great. So I'm a noob. Um, what boxes would you tell me to go do on Hack the Box right now? Like what besides
Really
the
putting me
list? I
on the
guess you could pull
spot
off the
here.
list. I guess you could even pull off the list. But I mean, like, what do you think I should do? Like, I don't even know where to begin.
Let me just gonna log in and see what's active right now. And you're making me work now. This wasn't part of the deal.
I can even say this code. They posted in chat. They said do Windows XP. Windows XP can even be a challenge if it's hardened enough. So, uh,
I will tell you right now, there is a Windows XP machine that I built and hardened it to the point where you're not going to be able to get to it. Period.
and
Um,
that's what like people always go like, what's the best operating system? And I always tell them they all suck. And like it's how you harden it that makes it secure. Um, so
I mean, if you want entry level box right now, Blunder was pretty easy. If you want like a medium box, Cache was pretty good. Um, if you want a box that was a bit more difficult, my Pleasure was pretty good. Those were the only ones I've done that are still active, and I do plan to going back and going down this list a little bit more.
do you think I should just jump into 50-point boxes, or should I focus on like doing the lower boxes?
It depends on what you're comfortable with. Um, I honestly I've had 20-point boxes that have stunned me, and I've done 50-point boxes that I breeze through. It's
Yeah.
it's all about perception.
And actually, that's one thing that's I always say I hate CTF boxes or puzzle boxes. Is there's some lows that are just puzzle boxes, and I didn't learn anything. It was just a puzzle. I was really mad at the end. So um, I don't often like negatively mark boxes, but there are a couple in Hack the Box that I was very upset by the time I finished it. So they got a downgrade.
Well, as long as your feedback is constructive, that's all that matters.
Oh no, it was well, it's teacher. Go do teacher without lookups. I don't even know. I hate that box. If it like, I
I
hate it.
think I think I vaguely remember that one.
Hate that box. What the guy did, and he thinks he's really smart. So it's a really big application, huge. There's like thousands of directories, um, and he hid the passwords you need to log into the application in an image, and the image isn't specially marked. There's it's just an image, and inside the image it has the passwords, and it's numbered 4. So there's no way you would figure it out through enumeration. As well, there is a way, but it's very hard. And I spent so long um, enumerating that box, and like, uh, I was mad. And actually, I think that was the one box. So I actually got the answer on from my mentors, because they're just like, well, no, they gave me the tool, um, which is really cool, and this should always be in your arsenal. Is Snapfish, um, and I always keep that in the back of my mind if I'm ever like really stumped. I use Snapfish, and what that does is it'll basically spider a web application, and then build you a report on the web application, and it'll report any irregularities in the web application, and that's how I found the image, because there was some like I don't even remember, but something was off about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, worst box ever. Like worst box ever. Oh, do you, have you done Carrier? I loved Carrier. That was awesome.
I honestly don't remember.
That one's cool.
I haven't touched Hack the Box in about a month.
It's been a long time for me. I'm a little ashamed. Um, I would like to start doing streams of CTFs, but it's kind of different doing it live. Like doing a live CTF as opposed to me already kind of knowing the answer because I already did it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and time is definitely a factor, right? I mean,
oh
if you're streaming, you don't want people just staring at waiting for your scan to finish in 5-10 minutes.
um like what was it like how did you manage your time? So you like 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 how did you even manage your time when you did the OSCP? Um
I looked at how long the exam was, or how long you're given. It's 23 hours and 45 minutes. I looked at how many boxes I was going to be presented with, and obviously buffer overflow is one of them, right? So that's public knowledge. So I said, okay, that's my first machine. I'm going to have enumeration going on the background on the rest, and I'm going to focus on the buffer overflow. That way, once I'm done with the buffer overflow, then all my enumeration for all the other machines should be done. I can look at the output, and then I can prioritize based on what's found, what's opened, etc. And I promised myself, and I had it written down, and I also put an alarm on my phone to play an alarm every 2 hours. So I take my mind off the screen, get up and walk around a little bit, and then come back.
I always thought the time management thing was kind of like a snake oil, I guess, solution to kind of passing the test. But after hearing like you talk about like you doing it the first time compared to the second time, it really adds a little bit of context to how important that is to
Critically important.
passing the exam.
Critically important.
I don't know if real in use is still around, but did you um, do the time management thing? Or I don't know if he's around. Let's see.
Oh,
Oh,
he's still here.
yeah, he's still here. Nice. So, like, would do you agree? Like, it's really, really like. Oh, yeah, okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what's more
And
important, killing the boxes during the exam or the report?
as long as you are taking notes throughout the process, you will be okay. Example, 12 hours in, I had everything I needed point wise. Then it was time to write the report. So, like real and use, I also took a nap when I was done because that was a huge stress relief that I knew I had what I needed to pass from a point value standpoint. But at the end of the day, the points you submit is not what's going to let you pass or fail. It's going to be a report. So if you don't take notes throughout this whole process, you're not going to write a good report. So if you take screenshots and you take notes throughout the process, you're just copying and pasting what you've already done as a note taking process throughout the process and formatting it into a report. The report itself took me, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half to write because I was taking good notes throughout the whole process of working through the exam. I know numerous people have failed because they didn't write a good report, and that's because they always waited till the next day to write the report when really you should be seizing the opportunity of still having the exam VPN still up to go back and verify that you have all the screenshots you need and you have all the commands needed to reproduce the same steps you did.
Now, there's something I actually haven't heard before. That is some solid advice. Don't squander the extra time you may have been given, and just think you're done. Go back over everything, maybe
Yep.
after a long like a nap. Um, that's wow. I've actually never heard that before. That's awesome advice. Um, and
That's
I
what
don't
I'm
know if
here
you can
for.
answer it, but I'm gonna try. And you don't even have to do anything, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. How
Okay.
scary is the buffer overflow?
I am not going to answer that question.
Sharp. I am terrified of buffer overflow, and the reason is, um, I decided, like my first foray into it, was to do Smasher, and Smasher is so hard. Um, IPSEC has never made a video on it.
So think of it like this, right? OffSec is not going to give you a buffer overflow and that's intended to drive you up the wall to where you can't solve it. And they're not going to expect that you have the knowledge and skill on completing it. They do teach you the principles of buffer overflows in the exam, in the course materials. If you can follow the steps in the course materials and reproduce it in the labs with a designated machine that's in the materials and in the lab, you will be okay.
Did you time yourself when you were doing the labs to kind of get a feel of?
So actually, that's a great question. Let me actually link something in here. I didn't time myself in the labs per se, but there is a VulnHub like OSCP exam experience that a
Oh,
person made with VulnHub VMs. with one of the things being a buffer overflow and a number of machines compensating it.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay, I might give Bone Hub a try. Um, 'cause,
It is by a friend of mine called Clutches Back. I don't know if anyone recognizes his handle, but I just posted it in the chat there.
Clutch. Is he on Twitter? Is that his?
Yes.
Let's see, Clutch is back. There he is. Gave him a follow. That's awesome.
Yep. It's really good. It's pretty accurate. And as long as you hold yourself true to taking that pre-exam process as if it was the real exam, it can help mentally prepare you, but it's a completely different ball game even still. Because one, you're holding yourself personally accountable versus actually being held accountable.
Yeah. And that stress is a real thing. I don't know if any of y'all have done like CTS at like a convention, but there is a bit of stress to it. And like I went to go do a CTF at a convention, and when I went and sat down, everything I forgot everything, and I just forgot everything. I was just stressed out, and I forgot everything. I couldn't even figure out how to do like get a shell. Like I was so stressed. And
It's a real thing. That stress is a killer.
like,
It really is.
so
So
would you recommend people maybe time themselves when they're doing the labs, or like how long do you think somebody should spend on a box? Like even the labs,
it's
not the courts, but like how long like should they be knocking out like a lab in like 15 minutes or 30 minutes? Um
I wouldn't even time it like that. It's really hard to say because different people can do things different ways. Certain people learn different than others. Again, I get stumped on some boxes sometimes, and then there's another person that can do a box in like 10 minutes. And then there's times I can do a box in 10 minutes, but then that other person can't figure it out. It's really hard to measure stuff like that. As long as you are learning, that is what's most important. So, for example, when I was in the labs, I was still working full time. I was still working 40, 50-hour weeks. So it was really tough to cram enough times to focus in those labs. And I was spending, I think, probably about 5 or 6 hours every night when I got home from work in the labs, and then 12 hours every Saturday and Sunday. And even then, I felt like it wasn't enough.
yeah. A lot of my friends are a lot of people I know are trying to get ready for the OSCP, and even people who've already taken it and they failed and they're getting ready for the second time. So that's why I kind of thought this was going to be a cool opportunity to talk to somebody who did the exam recently. Because um, you said they didn't change the labs, but I'm 90% sure they changed them.
They did change the labs.
Oh, okay. Maybe I
They
misunderstood.
didn't change the exam.
Oh, I thought they. Okay, maybe I misinterpreted what he said, because I thought he told me, or they.
I mean, they could have since I took it. I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
no, it's I remember it because you took it when they changed it, because of the cheating that's been going on with the exam, that they actually had to
Yes,
change up
they
the
did.
exam.
They did replace all the old exam machines with new ones because somebody leaked um, all the boxes.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of yeah, and just FYI, that's a really good way to get people to hate you in the community. Like you might be cool to some, but a lot of people are gonna hate you. And that also goes with Hack the Box. Um, the community for Hack the Box is watching out, and they will report you if they see you if they see your write up on Google, and you will most likely get a email from the mods that you have to take that down, or you'll get permanently banned. Um, so don't Don't leak things you're not supposed to leak. Okay. Uh,
You're not supposed to leak anything. So,
cool.
no, if there's no other questions for anyone in the chat, I'll give it a few more minutes. Let them get caught up in case they have any other
Yeah,
questions.
there is a bit of lag. Man, I can't believe Halloween's ruined this year. Oh my gosh. All right, no questions, anybody? You sure? You can ask some ICS questions, industrial control, OSCP. Nothing. You guys know everything. You pro.
Or if you don't have anything right now, but you think of it later,
Yeah.
find me on Twitter. I'll answer it then.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I would like to ask something, but I cannot come up with a question. Well, thank you.
that's a dilemma, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Actually, that's one of my problems. During interviews, they'll always ask me, "Do I have any questions?" And like, even if I had some like I kind of pre thought out earlier, like because of the stress, everything kind of leaves my mind.
Write it down.
Yeah, you gotta. That's one thing. If you're gonna write down questions that you like during an interview, they're really important. And I'm a bit of a spaz, but that's more of my nature than anything else. Um, cool beans. So we're gonna be ending it. Thank you guys for showing up. Please remember to join the Pwnysec Slack channel and join the CTF Club and Education channel. That's where we're at. We have a bunch of really great people in there that can mentor you, answer questions. I'm in there. You can always bug me about CTF questions. I'm not really active right now with Hack the Box, so I can't really give you answers for like I already kind of know the answer and I can guide you through it, but I can definitely give you tips and tricks that I know to help you enumerate a box. So thank you guys for coming, and we're going to end it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.